Members and guests, it's my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Owen Hegarty, OAM. Owen has nearly 50 years' experience in the global mining industry. This includes 24 years with the Rio Tinto Group, where he worked in most of their commodities, companies and countries, and ultimately was Managing Director of Rio Tinto Asia and the Australian copper and gold business. He confesses to have been very lucky to have joined such a great group with great people and have gained such a diverse experience. Owen was founder and Managing Director of Oxiana Limited, where he led the growth of Oxiana from a junior explorer to a major Asia-Pacific base and precious metals producer. Oxiana became Oz Minerals, which remains one of the top performing resources stocks over the past 25 years. Owen was chairman of the Tigers Realm Minerals Group and until the end of 2016 was vice chairman of Fortescue Metals Group. He was also the executive vice chairman of Hong Kong listed G Resources and CST Mining. Owen is co-founder, along with Jason Chang and Tony Manini, and is currently the executive chairman of EMR Capital, which is a specialist mining private equity group. EMR has some $3 billion of funds under management and has multiple mining projects and operations worldwide. In July this year, EMR IPO'd its Australian and Chilean copper assets on the ASX. This was one of the biggest resources IPOs in more than a decade. It's now known as 29 Metals, and we will be hearing more on that today. Owen holds a Bachelor of Economics with honours from Monash University. He is an honorary fellow and former director of the Australian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, and he is also a fellow of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Owen has served and continues to serve as a member of a number of government and industry mining advisory bodies. He is the recipient of a range of awards and citations for his achievements and leadership in the mining industry, including the Order of Australia Medal for his service to the mining and minerals sector. In short, Owen is a veteran and icon of the Australian minerals industry. Members and guests, please welcome Owen Hegarty back to the Melbourne Mining Club.
Thank you, John. And thank you, Gavin, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Boys and girls, distinguished guests, special guests, and special mentions to everybody. Wonderful, wonderful to be back. I should say, firstly, all customs and respects observed. Thank you for that. And Gavin and the Melbourne Mining Club, congratulations on an outstanding performance over the past several years. So wonderful achievements from the MMC. Well done with all of that. And I should say congratulations actually to everybody in the mining industry, and this was observed a little bit earlier, for just an unbelievable performance over the past couple of years of COVID. It's just been spectacular, amazing achievements, and an outstanding performance by everybody in it, and demonstrates our clear resilience and competitive advantage that we have in the industry. We feel a bit sorry for those who have suffered, so we're sorry about that, but we've just got to keep going as strong and long as we possibly can. So the disclaimer also respectfully observed. And so, ladies and gentlemen, just today, just rattling through the agenda here very quickly. I just wanted to give a bit of a background on EMR Capital, already been introduced a little bit there by John. Also to talk about demand coming at us over the next 40 or 50 years, that length of time, and the additional demand that's going to come at us from the energy transition. The supply side, and we're supply side people mainly here, how that will be, we believe, somewhat constrained. And then talk a little bit about Australia's competitive advantage and the wonderful, wonderful opportunities it offers for the country and all of us who sail in it. And then talk about a little bit about the capital, accessing capital. So if you're going to do all these sort of things, you've got to continue to access the capital. It is available. A little bit of chat about that. And then finally, finish up on 29 Metals, the new force in copper on the exchange here in Australia. Okay, so we at EMR Capital, we mentioned before, we're private equity, we're a mining group, we're not the usual sort of head-kicking slash and burn PE group. We are private equity with a soul. And as I say, we're mostly a mining group, and we are open for business. We've got long, strong, deep operational experience and background, and many of those people are here today at the mighty EMR, so that's a competitive advantage we have. We're not an observer. We don't sit in the bleachers or in the audience. We're actually on the ground or in the coach's box to make sure that all of the work that we've done, all of the people, the trouble that we've gone to put together all of those people, actually get a good old say in those investments that we're involved in. Serious competitive advantage in operating, investing and working with Asian partners, so very close linkages there. We've been doing it for a long period of time. And it's very important to actually understand that market, because that's where the growth has been coming from really for the last 40 or 50 years, and will continue to do so. So it's important to have that understanding of what's going on over there. Good track record in terms of working together with the people back in the Rio Tinto days, and I should acknowledge my very good friend and colleague, co-patron here, Lee Clifford. As John said in the intro, lucky to, in a way, very lucky to have worked with wonderful people like Lee and the rest of that group for 20-something years. Great group, great people. And so we've been working there, and it's not as if we threw the whole group together at the pub a few years ago and decided we'd do PE. We've actually been working on it and working together for a long period of time with a good track record. And then the core commodities, so you've got to have a focus. We focus only on base and precious metals, copper, gold, other polymetallics, and the energy transition metals on the base and precious metal side. And in the bulk commodities, we focus on metallurgical coal, and we focus on potash in that space. So the bulk commodities as well as base and precious. 25 years we've been doing it. I actually increased that average age a bit, I can tell you. And $2.83 billion or thereabouts, goes up and down a little bit whether you add debt in, add equity and so on, but that's the fund we have under management. We made 10 investments, we've had 4 exits, and we look to be in stable jurisdictions. We all tend to do that. You've got to go where the ore bodies are effectively. But we look to, particularly in the next coming years, be looking for those stable jurisdictions. Okay, so that's a bit of EMR background. What are we thinking is going to happen here in the next 20, 30, 40 years? And our thematic is still exactly the same. The story and the narrative is exactly the same. We believe we're in for long, strong, multi-decade growth in commodities, led by China, followed by India, rest of the developing world, including Indonesia, all chipping in from the edge of the green, all looking to get on that superhighway of economic growth and prosperity. It's unbridled, it's unstoppable, and it will absolutely continue. Humps and bumps along the way from time to time, bound to be humps and bumps and disruptions, and we saw one at the the Asian financial crisis, 1997, 2000, something like that, 20 years ago. We saw a big one there with the GFC 10 years ago, and we've just seen one here with COVID. And people were asking us, little chart on the left-hand side there, our investors were asking us at the beginning of 2020, what's going on? Are we going to recover? When's it going to be? What's the shape going to be of this recovery? Is it going to be V-shape, U-shape, J-shape, M-shape, inverse square, root shape? And we got our shape all right. It was a V-shape and a very fast recovery. And that's testament to a number of things, one of which is the world so much bigger and resilient and more capable, the world economy more capable of actually coming over those, overcoming those disruptions, if you like. Strong stimulus from the various governments. Almost perfect knowledge and information. Even 25, 20, 30 years ago, you didn't have the information. Today, the information is available, it's almost perfect, and you are therefore able to actually pull all of those levers that you need to. And China coming back so strongly was a very big factor. So we're back on track, back on plan, looking forward to the next 20, 30, 40 years. Just when you thought there was enough to do to get on with there over those next multiple decades, along comes decarbonisation, energy transition, greener economy, and so on, and renewables, etc. So this is now going to add a very serious lift to the demand for commodities, whether metals, bulk commodities, and so on. And that is also unstoppable. In other words, it's no longer a thematic. People are putting flags in the sand and making targets out there, the government 2030, 2040, 2050, 2043 I saw the other day, 2060 in China, and 2070 out there with Modi. So we've got 50 years of all of this going to happen. So I say it's no longer a thematic, it is actually happening around us. We're seeing it every day, and it's going to lift the whole commodities complex. And it will be very capital intensive, no question about that, and a little wow chart here on the right-hand side just to talk about a doubler we're going to need in terms of the energy capital expenditure, in terms of the energy generation, transmission and infrastructure generally. So that's a doubler. Okay, so what about the metals intensive energy transition? It's capital intensive, it'll be metals intensive. Who are the winners and who are the losers here? Well, the good news, of course, is that everybody's a winner. All of this little matrix of numbers and names and some unpronounceable here on the left-hand side means that you're going to see all of those with a stronger intensity than we had before. And the winner, the main winner, here is Dr. Copper. And we've been talking about copper for a long period of time. Most noble and versatile of all metals. It's been powering the whole infotech revolution over the past 20 years and will continue to do so. It's been electrifying China and the rest of the developing world, and will now electrify the whole energy transition. So you want to be as long and as strong as you possibly can on quality, unhedged copper. Others there as well, a little bit of a wow chart here on the right-hand side, copper, nickel, cobalt, and lithium, and copper, the required demand for copper in 20 years' time is another, if we grow at a modest 2%, then you need another 10 million tonnes. Now with the energy transition on top of that, you need another 10 million tonnes. So it's a very significant increase. So this is the increase on the increase, if you like, on the right-hand side on that wow chart there. So highly metals intensive. Don't forget about all of the other commodities that we're heavily involved in and with great capability and expertise here. And gold, for example, I mean, you can never have enough gold either. It will continue a very long, strong run. Commodity, currency, store of value. It's a hedge against inflation, a hedge against geopolitical and financial uncertainty. So you want to have more gold. Metallurgical coal, as I said, we were long met coal and will continue to be so. It got through COP26 unscathed, and in fact it came out of COP26 met coal as part of the solution, not part of the problem. In other words, steel is such an important ingredient in the whole energy transition. You won't have much energy transition if you don't have lots more steel, and to have lots more steel you're going to need a lot of metallurgical coal. And yes, there's lots of work going on, terrific amount of work going on by all of the steel mills, all of the mining companies, the steel mills, research people and others in terms of reducing emissions at the coalface, but reducing emissions in the blast furnace technology and so on. But this is a transition, this is a journey. It's not a cliff and it's not a sprint. It will take some time to do. So you'll continue to need that strong diet. Yes, there'll be more scrap, yes, there'll be more DRI, yes, there'll be higher quality iron ore and higher quality met coal, yes, there will be CCUS and so on and so forth, but you're going to continue to have that diet of met coal for a long time to come. And potash, because the world is growing, people are getting better, higher protein diets, greater population, less arable land, and so on, greater incomes, and people are living longer and eating more. And I am a very good example of people actually eating more and living longer, and I see a few others here in the room as well in that category. Don't forget about all of the other commodities, terrific future there. Okay, so that's the demand side. You're going to have, it will be stronger for longer, and you're going to have that very strong lift. Doesn't mean you won't have humps and bumps along the way, by the way, and you've got to prepare, of course, for them. But supply is going to be under pressure, and we are supply-side people. I mean, yes, we contribute to demand, but we have a very big influence over supply. And on the left-hand side, a little bit of a wow chart here on copper as to the discovery rate. I mean, the actual exploration rate has been going up. Discovery rate has actually been coming down, and Richard Shoddy has these slides in spades. And it doesn't matter whether it's copper or gold or most of the other commodities, you just have not had the discovery rate over the past 10, 20 years that is going to enable that supply to come forward. So we need to do more in respect of exploration and discovery. Costs will continue to rise, and they will inevitably rise here as the grades get lower. You go to more faraway places, the ore bodies are deeper, and so on. So the long-term marginal cost of producing copper will go up, as will the long-term marginal cost of most other commodities as well. So you've got to keep your eye on that. That's despite, by the way, all of the magnificent technological and productivity improvements that are actually being undertaken in the industry all the time. And there's wonderful, wonderful examples of all that. And the expenditure just has been insufficient, really, to sustain that growth. And we've seen it here. And so the pipeline is a little bit, it's not bare or completely spare, the pipeline, but it has been dwindling. And we've got to up the ante on the left-hand side to make those discoveries to supply all of this. And who is best placed in the world, on the planet, in the universe, probably, to take advantage of all of this, and that is, of course, Australia. Absolutely. We are blessed with a wonderful resources, critical minerals and various other the minerals. There's nothing that we don't have here, so very lucky to be in that sort of situation. The industry, it's a stable and reliable jurisdiction, and again, best in class. We have a bit of a whinge about the government from time to time, a whinge and a whine and a bit of a sledge every now and again, but At the end of the day, the cooperation with the state governments, federal governments and authorities, very, very good, generally speaking, across the board. So we now have critical mass here in this industry. Critical mass. We're past the point of economic takeoff for the industry. You've got the resources, you've got the operating capability, you've got the total expertise here, all the way down to the METs and so on. So it's a massive industry. So we're past that kick point. We're past the Callaway Big Bertha driver kick point, and we're now ready to take advantage of that serious competitive advantage in the position we're in to be able to drive the industry forward and drive the supply into the waiting arms of demand. And fabulous people here seek the brainchild of Elizabeth Lewis-Gray, who's done a superb job there in SEEK, and the JORC code, now world-renowned, and the chairman of JORC is here today. And as I say, the government has done a superb job. CSIRO and Geoscience Australia, great people doing great cooperative work. And at the same time, we've got a technological revolution going on, as I say, at the coalface, whether they be tectonic improvements or they be the gradual, continuous improvements. And a few examples here, a few frames to show that we are doing this all the way around the country and leaders in it, and we've got to keep doing that. The other thing, of course, that we are doing and been going on for a while is the AI, it is the robotics, it is the automation, it's the digitisation, it's the miniaturisation, all remote sensing and remote operations and so on. All of that is working its way through all of the industry. And the other thing we're doing, of course, at the same time, one eye and money, in respect of the energy transition. So we're working on our Scope 1s, we're working on our Scope 2s, we're working on our Scope 3s with our customers, so we're driving down those emissions at all sites. And here, the example being electrification. There's not a site you can go to in 29 and EMR capital across Australia, well, all around the place, we're doing this energy transition. In fact, if you pay a visit to any of our sites and you stand still for longer than about 20 seconds, you might get a battery pack attached or inserted one way or the other. So there's a lot of electrification going on around the place. Okay, so we're in perfect position to be able to take advantage of this weakness in supply and strength in demand. What about the money? Where's that coming from? Well, it will come from all the usual places, and you probably need to be a little bit more creative in terms of where you go for the money. So say you've got to go down some different places and different rabbit warrens and foxholes from time to time, but the money will be available. You've got good people, you've got good projects, then you will always show up with the money. As I say, 100% people, 100% your project, and 100% persistence, and you'll be able to get there. So multiple examples. By the way, you've got to match up with the optimum here, and there's terrific expertise in this room, all the way from the banking people through to the private advisors in terms of being able to give you the right advice for matching up. ESG will be a focus. ESG has been a focus in the past anyway, and will continue to be even more so a focus now. So we have to keep up our work there. I mean, at the end of the day, we are business people. We have to follow the money, we have to follow the regulator, and we have to follow best practice, world's best practice. And all three are demanding more on the ESG side. So we have to be there for that. RTO, IPO, we're living proof of a successful IPO, and terrific support in this room amongst the institutions who are here for that IPO of 29M. Private equity, we are there with a soul, and you must have that proven capability. And talking of which proven capability, we have it here in spades. So we're longer for stronger, or even stronger for longer on the demand side. you're going to get a bigger lift in respect of the energy transition. Supply is going to be the issue. We've got the capability here in Australia, and you put all that together and you come up with 29 metals, the new force in copper on the ASX here in Australia. IPO was mentioned a bit earlier. In July this year, one of the biggest for 2015, not that we did that by design, but it was the clear and present thing to do, and we got terrific support, and we thank people very much for that. So we have the three assets, a Golden Grove in Western Australia. What a sensational asset, one of the world's biggest, if not the biggest, VMS system, polymetallic, copper, gold, lead, zinc, silver. It's got everything in it. It continues to grow. It's celebrated recently 30 years of production, and we believe it's got the potential to go to another 30 years at least. Think Broken Hill, think Mount Isa, think Kidd Creek, think some of these bigger systems. They're getting bigger and they're getting higher grade as we get deeper. Capricorn Copper in Queensland, north of the mighty Mount Isa there, and for the first time actually with 29 Metals takeover here of Capricorn, for the first time we've got the capital, we've got the people, we've got the incentive now to give this area, this region, this operation the oomph in a way that it actually needs to actually get up to its world-class potential. And it's spinning like a top as we speak. You've got multiple openings, and you've got terrific surrounding in and around the existing ore bodies, great potential. You've got wonderful potential on the block. It's got one of the best packages of exploration ground in FNQ, let alone in Australia for that matter. And it's in a prolific district: Mount Isa, Ernest Henry, Century, Cannington, Phosphate Hill, Lady Loretta. All of those world-class ore bodies on the doorstep. So oodles of opportunity, and Red Hill, a bit smaller, sweeter, with very good grade. On the coast in Chile, so you're not in the Andes and you're not in the Atacama Desert. You're down south there, and that's a very big package of ground prospective for both copper and gold. So the best is yet to come with respect to 29M, and just a quick one on people. We're talking about that a bit earlier. Board and senior management team here. Many of these people are here today. Martin Alcaturi on the right-hand side. He's worked with Ernst & Young for a very long period of time. Chairman of Macquarie in Western Australia. Been on the takeovers panel. He's been an advisor to ASIC, and he worked with Tony Polly and Aquila and Bal Steele up there in Queensland. So terrific experience. Martin, based in Perth. Jackie McGill, what an absolute rock star is Jackie. Metallurgical background, long, strong operational experience with BHP. In copper at Olympic Dam, was the CEO over there, and was also CEO of MNC up there in Queensland. The coal people, just been recently sold for multiple billions, and has been decorated for her contribution to the mining industry and mankind and humanity generally, and her work particularly with women in mining. Speaking of women in mining champions, Fiona Robinson is certainly one, a graduate from Oxford in geology. She's worked mainly in the finance side as CFOs and advisory side, banking groups and so on. Has been on the board of PetSec, Delta Gold. You will remember those names. Currently on the board of Whitehaven and Bellevue, and Fiona based in Sydney. And Peter Albert as the CEO. No better horseman ever held the reins than Peter Albert for a CEO position here. Peter and I have been working together for 20 years from the start of Sepon. Metallurgist by background, he's worked in all continents at the technical, operational and senior management and CEO level. He built the Sepon gold mine, expanded the Sepon gold mine, built the copper mine, expanded the copper mine, built Matabi, and multiple others, and grew value with me and Tony and a few others in the Mighty Ox from 4 cents to $4 or thereabouts, and he's going to do it again with 29 Metals. So that's the plan. So Peter, so terrific board, very happy and very proud to have them there, and some of the folks here that you will know, Cliff from Newcrest, to Peter Herbert, you know. Ed Cooney worked Cannington, Indonesia. He was there with, in Indonesia at the Matabi gold mine. World-class operation, world-class in terms of operationally, financially, and particularly with respect to sustainability and ESG. Absolute model, shining light, beacon in the night on ESG. So great performance there. And then the people who do all the work at the bottom of the table here, only one to mention at this time, Michael Slafersky. Michael Slafersky, very well known to everybody here at the Melbourne Mining Club. Mining engineer, worked at Mount Isa till 95, worked with Nev Power, worked with Sandeep and other luminaries up there, came to town to join Credit Suisse and spent 25 years with Credit Suisse. We brought him in from the cold, we brought him in from the dark side, and he's now on the other side. He was full of advice, I can tell you, at the when we were building the Ox, and he was very, very helpful, I have to say, and he's now doing the same at 29 Metals. So lovely to have Michael part of the team. Okay, so Gavin, I'm about to shut down here. So just a few things, I suppose. What I've been trying to shout about here is that we do have what we would describe as above-trend demand growth going forward, and now with a bit of a boost, so it's got a booster with respect to the whole energy transition thematic. It's the supply side that has to increase, and it's got to actually increase now. We've got to get out and finish off our lunch and get out and start increasing that supply side. We are absolutely perfectly placed here in Australia, so lucky, and we need to take advantage of it, to take the advantage of that competitive advantage, the fact that we've passed the kick point, and to do it to ensure that we continue to sustain ourselves, but we continue to help others who are less fortunate in a way than us to have this sort of natural advantage. Okay, so the financing challenges, well, there are always a number of challenges here, but it is available. Growing surpluses around the world, savings always equals investment, and where the investment is more, then the central bank governors around the world will just print you some money. So it's always going to be available. And the new force in copper in Australia, 29 Metals, and the best is yet to come from 29 Metals. Thank you very much. And go the mighty Bombers.
Thank you, Owen. I was hoping we wouldn't have to refer to the Bombers at Essendon Football Club, but you can't get away with it. I'm sorry about that. Never mind. Members and guests, it's question time. We know how conservative Victorians can be on this area, but let's see some questions. We've got over here Rowan Callick with one microphone, and over here Richard Shoddy, some of his slides you saw today. We invite questions from the floor. Come on, be brave. There's one up the back there that looks like Peter Arden. Going for the third? Is that you, Peter? Yep. Stand up, and by the time you get there, Richard Shoddy will be with you. Here we are.
Peter Arden from Groundwork. Owen, congratulations on a really great career and contribution to the mining industry. I think your advocacy and enthusiasm is, just terrific and well appreciated. I have a small two-part question. When I told someone I was coming here today and, Owen Hegarty, Executive Chairman of EMR, was going to be addressing, they said, "What does EMR stand for?" And having spent 7 years working with you in the 90s, I thought, well, I don't know, but it's probably, something fairly modest like exceptionally miraculous resources. But then I thought, no, it's probably a bit more expansive than that. So maybe you could explain what that is. And secondly, on your presentation there of what EMR is involved with, you've got some fabulous investments in some mining operations around the globe, but apart from having the head office in this formerly very livable city of Melbourne, you don't seem to have anything in Victoria, and I spent 7 years trying to tell you there were some great things in Victoria. We didn't find anything in that time, but they've certainly come to the fore more recently. Fosterville, great things at Stawell Gold Mine, Costerfield, exploration at Pyramid Hill, Staveley, and even Wedderburn. So is there a chance that EMR or 29 Metals could have a look here in Victoria sometime?
Thank you, Peter. And go the mighty Demons too, of course. They didn't do a bad job this year there. So, Peter, thank you for that. EMR, well, all the good names like Rio Tinto and BHP were sort of gone, you know. But Energy Mining Resources was one, and the other one, Excellent Mining Returns. And so you're very close, Peter, well done with that. And as far as Victoria is concerned, and we have a very powerful representative of the Victorian government here today on the resources side, we would love to do something here, whether it's gold or copper or bulk commodities and so on, because our people here, or our technical headquarters is here, if you like, financial headquarters in Hong Kong, a bit closer to the money, I suppose, from that perspective. But absolutely love to do it here, and our hunter-gatherers, Robbie Curtis and John Chomley and Tony Manini and others, have always got an eye out, Peter, for that. So just love to do something here. As I say, the Victorian government has been very cooperative in a whole raft of different things, along with most other states in Australia and the feds as well. So to be delighted. Thank you, Peter. Bring in the rocks.
Okay, Owen, we've got a question up here. Rowan, you've got someone up there?
Owen, Will Morgan, 888 Capital. Owen, just there's been a very big speculative boom of investment in the sustainability sector, and we've got effectively funded by a QE money supply. Just your reflections on the sustainability of the sustainability boom outside of obviously the demand forecast for, say, lithium and copper, etc.
So, Will, I think that was the sustainability of the demand factor here going forward, or of the sustainability sector per se. Look, I think referring to sustainability, referring to ESG, we gave it a very good run. We're very good at it. We're best in class, best in show. When I say we, I mean here in Australia as an industry. So, and the emphasis on that, as I mentioned, from our LPs, most of whom, by the way, are American LPs on the PE side. Most of our co-investors and so on, and financiers and bankers from Australia and Asia. But you've got the same from all corners. So I've got no doubt that will increase. The sustainability in terms of the energy transition metals and so on, well, I think you're just going to see it go on and on. Doesn't mean it won't be changing around a bit. I mean, yes, it is a large technology play. You've got a whole battery, EV, renewables complex, really. There's a bit of adjusting bound to go on technically. There'll be a few maladjustments and readjustments and so on. But I think the direction, the force and so on is perfectly clear. It's going in a northeasterly direction.
Okay, we have time for one or two more questions. I think there's one down here. Yes, please.
Hi, thanks very much for the presentation. Meredith Goss from AMC Consultants. Just your thoughts. I was interested in your thoughts on decarbonisation. Is the government doing enough to ensure the mining sector can decarbonise and remain competitive?
Look, I think there's a lot going on, put it that way. The whole decarbonisation sort of thematic, whether it be Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3, and in respect, for example, of you're seeing what's happening in the whole energy generation, electricity generation sector. So there's oodles going on there, and with the governments and looking to cooperate as much as they possibly can with the with the private sector. So you'd have to say that there's plenty of that going on. It is a transition. I think there's a growing recognition, by the way, and we certainly saw this at COP26, that it isn't a cliff. You can't do it tomorrow. Yes, you've got to do it quickly. You've got to get to 2030. You've got to do lots of stuff by 2030 and so on. But it's not possible to turn it around sort of overnight. So I think there's growing recognition that you've got that gradual. It's not a marathon. It's a journey, and it's gradual. So I think you're getting that. You're getting all of that. The amount of technical and technological work that's going on, by the way, I mean, you're seeing it here in Australia to the extent that we can, but the work that's going on in China, America and Europe in respect of decarbing, CCUS, blast furnace, optimising, so it's just huge, right? And there's absolutely no doubt when people said, well, can China really make net zero by 2060, or is he just saying that? Is he just pushing it? Kicking the can down the road? Of course they're going to make it. Look what they've been able to achieve in the last 40 years. It's just been absolutely staggering. And all of the estimates of being able to do this and that inside these next, they'll all be wrong. It will come forward much faster. Look at the whole information technology and communications revolution. Every estimate about the demand for this and the demand for that has been wrong. They've undercall it. So there's a massive amount of work going on. The vax is a good example. Won't be able to have it for 2 years. It was available in 10 or 11 months. So the work that goes into it, you've got such a massive economy with such terrific capability in all of those places to bring that forward. So I don't think the government's doing its job of leadership and giving us the environment in which to operate. It's now up to us to get the work done.
Okay, Owen, we have one more question from this corner and then we'll call it quits, please.
Hi, Owen. Owen, this is Richard Z. Blast from the past.
Richard Z.
I'm sitting here beside Robin Chambers, and we're just having a couple of discussions. And just a question for you. In the last several years, I guess there has been a lot of money from China, and now there's effectively no Chinese money coming in. Do you think that Australia as it is, without the Chinese money coming in to resources, that we could power on? And if that's the case, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Good to hear from you. Look, of course, Australia has developed to now and will continue to develop using all forms and sources of capital, and foreign investment, direct and indirect, has been a major source of capital to be able to build the country and get us to this, as I say, lucky position in a way for our industry. And of course it started with European capital, US capital. Look at the mighty Rio Tinto with Kaiser Kaiser Steel, Kaiser Aluminium and so on. And then the whole of the Pilbara with the capital from Japan, Europe and the US. And then of course you've got Korea and Taiwan, and China as the growing surplus there is going, has come here and it's going into other parts of Asia. Well, it's going to America, the world's, second largest or largest economy probably in many respects. So the surplus is just tremendous, and they bounce back so quickly and will continue to do all that. So will it be missed? Well, yes, but temporarily, probably. There are ways and means of being able to do it. There are various multiple other sources. It's not a great help to have this sort of going on in the background. But at the same time, if the demand is there, the projects are there, the people are there, the money will be available.
Well, that's the questions for us. Thanks, Rowan, and thanks, Richard, for manning those microphones. To propose a vote of thanks, I'd like to call on Steve Hunt, who's the Executive Lead Technical with one of our two principal partners, AMC Consultants. And just on the side, Steve also is head of the JORC Committee. So, members and guests, would you please welcome Steve Hunt.
Well, that's a hard act to follow, isn't it? I've had it on good authority that Owen's been up here on the stage over the years more than any other person over this last 20 years with the Mining Club. Not a surprise after that. Probably just what we all needed to blow some post-COVID cobwebs away and have some faith in ourselves and our industry again. Look, the main thing I got out of that is if you believe in decarbonisation, you believe in the mining industry growth. There's a broad range of commodities. That metal's got to come from somewhere. And, you know, as the Australian industry, we have the capabilities, we have the minerals in the ground, and it will work through all the areas. So, you know, from exploration, it's a mega trend, it's a multi-commodity, capital intensive. What a spinning top, new force with soul, had everything. Look, thanks very much, Owen. Great talk. I hope you're all inspired. That lifted me up a bit. And so I'd like to propose a vote of thanks to Owen for another fantastic talk.
Well, thank you, Steve, very much indeed.
I better step back.
Thank you for your tireless efforts. Chairman of the JORC Committee, well done. And the great work at AMC. Wow, I finally got the pick, Gavin. Go the mighty Australian mining industry. We can do this.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks,
Whatever
Owen.
it takes.
Great.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Owen. I remember the first time that Owen spoke at the Melbourne